Good morning from South Florida. Today is day 2. Big day, valve adjustment day. Yesterday was a walk in the park. It was drain the oil after a warm-up and hit to the beach. And now the work begins. So I'm going to spare you the details of this. As you know, I'm not going to show you every single operation as I do it. So I'm going to jack the car up and with my quick jacks, sideways of course, and I'm going to remove the rear wheels. So like that. Oh, I work fast. Okay, we're up on the quick jacks and I removed the 2 oil recovery devices from the bottom. So this is what was in the case, which is as dirty. I leave this outside. So that's about how much you get out of the case. Maybe, I don't know, it's a quart and a half maybe. And this 16 quart oil holder here, you can, you drain the dry sump into that, and then there's plenty of room to drain the engine case into that, and then take it to the dump. Somewhere in here is my oil drain. So what I'm going to do is fish that out. I'm going to pull out the spark plug tool from the toolkit in the front. So hopefully you have that. That's important. I'll show that to you if you haven't used it. Stay tuned. Okay, I pulled out my toolkit. So if you've ever wondered what this thing is, this is the spark plug tool. If you don't have one of these, get it, because the spark plug is not a straight shot down into the hole. It's offset a little bit. So this thing has some play in it. So you'll be able to remove it like on this weird angle like this, and it'll be able to come out. I'm not saying it's impossible. This makes it a lot easier. And then this, of course, helps you get leverage. I don't know what that is, 8mm. Alright, then I pulled my oil drain plug. I'll check that for metal. There's a magnet on it, and then the washer, which will be thrown away, but I'll do that when we refill it later on. But for now, spark plugs to be removed. Alright, I'm going to start on the passenger side. So there's the 3 spark plugs. I'm just going to remove them out. Ooh. Ooh. And they're always fun to do. Okay. So the way the spark plug wires are kind of handled, they're not going anywhere. You'll know the lengths of them, so no need to mark them or anything. So I'm going to get these going and get back to you. Okay, so I have my tool in there. You basically just break it loose, and then that round black knob, you can just do it by hand. So just as a note, for Carrera 3.2, get your wife's favorite towel, put it right here. This is how you get access to this bank. Remove the AC compressor, loosen it, remove the belt, which would be down there, and it would come up. And you just get the compressor and you lay it over here, just with everything connected. So it's not that difficult to do. And then you have open access to this. And that's kind of why I have this also. You would have the air box here, so if you need to remove that as well. So this is just getting to the passenger side bank. Okay, so spark plug 1 will be coming out soon. I'll be getting all 3 out and get back to you. Okay, driver's side. So this is my backdated heat I just did in another video. You could see how to remove the stock heater motor on that video, but in a nutshell, you would remove the 2 7mm from here, the clamp here, the clamp down there, and then the 3 bolts holding the motor. So you would take the motor out and then the plastic hoses, but shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes. This is why I did the backdate. 1, I'm in Florida, and 2, I could get to all of this. So all I'm going to do for mine is just remove this hose and just move that out of the way. And then remove the spark plugs. Okay, got the spark plugs out. So this is in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I'm going to do is take a break, get a drink of water, and I'm going to take one of these in. These are all similar. And I'm going to do a little plug reading on it, just kind of look up against the guides. I think I'm probably correct in my assumption I need to run one stage colder based on the threads of the black here and where the black goes up on the electrodes. But I'm going to confirm that, and then I'll gap the other spark plugs. So you won't know any of that. You'll be right back with me doing removing the oil filter and the upper valve covers. Be back. Alright, back on this side. I remove the oil filter, which I didn't do yesterday. I have my little diaper underneath it. And then the 13mm nuts, there'll be 6 of them. So just a word of caution, from this point forward, you are officially opening the engine up. So be very careful. And just a word of advice that, so when you remove the nut, the aluminum crush washer, make sure you account for all of those, all 6. Try and get them off before you remove the valve cover. If it's stuck to it, it can't come off. You know, you can't really remove it. Like, put your finger on top of it before you take the valve cover off and make sure it does not fall into the engine. Of course, aluminum is non-magnetic, so if it goes down in a place it's not supposed to be, that would be very bad. So you don't want stuff falling into your engines. Make sure now, so for example, garage door is closed. If I have this open for an extended amount of time, I don't want dust and nasties to get into my engine bits. So work clean. I'm going to remove this and I'll get back to you when that's done. Alright, just a word of note. So when you go to loosen these, so of course I went through about 12mm before I found the 13mm socket. So if you're going through these and they're really torqued down tight, and it takes anything more than just barely more than finger tight to remove these nuts, find another mechanic, because we'll go over the torque values when I put these back in, but it's a very light torque value. In my case, the guy who did this before was really good and did this perfectly. So I know, I like that guy a lot. He's a good mechanic. He's me. Okay, here's the 6 washers, all accounted for. That's where the nylocks went. So if you have some stuck washers, just grab through the spark plug hole and just kind of get it out like that. It'll loosen them up. Don't open it. And then account for them, and then this will come off. Be right back. Okay, our first look into the, let's see, the valve cover off. We're looking at the valve train. So there's the 3 intake valves, 4, 5, and 6. The silicone valve cover gasket is off. I'll keep this at an orientation of up, and I'll make sure that I know that this is for the passenger side, just because I'm dumb. Keep things together. I'll clean that before I put it back on, and the other side will be a rinse and repeat. So I'm going to go do that. I won't show that, and then we'll do one of the bottom ones, the exhaust side, and carry on. Alright, note on the driver's side that you do have, this is what I call like the umbilical connections. When you rebuild your engine, you pull your engine, all this stuff is basically where you unhook all your electricals and things like that. So you have like the main ground right there. Anyway, I left it all intact. Here's the valve cover here. The only thing I undid was the spark plug wire loom that went into this bracket, and I bent the bracket up a little bit. But I mean, I rebuilt my engine. I'm not sure if yours will be in that exact spot, but mine was. So this is a note to my future self in 10,000 miles, what to do. All right, I'm gonna take a break. So basically my message is, take your time, get some water, kind of enjoy the journey of doing this. You're kind of bonding with your car. But the last thing I'll do before I grab my drink is I'm going to remove the distributor cap. So hopefully you've done this before. It's not that difficult. I'm not a real fan of how these fasten. They're spring-loaded lug with a little L-shaped arm that fits into a bracket. I don't really like it. I mean, you got to make sure it's in there when you put it together. Ask me how I know. So I'm just going to turn, rotate, using a flathead. Sometimes the Phillips heads don't really get in there very good. Turn, rotate. Okay, and why do you want to do this? Well, we'll get into the geek part of it. But we need to make sure we know where top dead center is on cylinder number 1, which is here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I didn't count out already. And just in case you were wondering how I knew that, look here. It's right there on the sticker of your car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the firing order is 1, 6, 2, 4, 3, 5. And that's what we'll be getting into a little bit later. And it looks like we also have our, which this is in German, yeah, valve clearance cold. Our clearances are all there. So yeah, we don't even need a manual. It's all right there in our stickers. Okay, here we are under the car. This is the passenger side bank. Look, bypass self, valve adjustment, 123119. Okay, look at that. So yeah, I'm going to take these 13s off and then check for other things. Look, I found my heater hose here, so I'll need to tighten that up. And we'll be adjusting valves. I won't show you the other side, but we'll be getting to it soon. All right, one more thing is as this starts to loosen up, diaper up the top of your heat exchanger. There's some paper towels up there because it will leak. So the gravity has the oil going down to the bottom here. Ooh. Ah. All right, there's our exhaust system here, our exhaust side of the valve train, and we'll get to work on the other side. Okay, I got the other valve cover off down on the bottom exhaust side on the driver. You may have to remove your catalytic converter to get to it, but most people can slink it around. So now to find top dead center on cylinder 1, which again is here. We're going to use the notches on this pulley to find out where we are. We're going to use the rotor location here, but a little lesson on how this pulley works. So this pulley, you know, just say this is the pulley right here. Okay, so to get through firing all 6 cylinders, this does 2 revolutions. So at top dead center would be 1, which would be here. We will start with that. Then after that, as it turns, it will hit cylinder number 6 and cylinder number 2. Again, we went through the firing order that's here. And then it does 1 full turn, and when it comes back to this position, the next time will be number 4, then number 3, and number 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the pulley here, and so it's easy with the spark plugs out. So if it slips on here, you could just basically pinch the belt, just pinch it as you're turning this clockwise until you get the rotor will be in this position here, and then you'll see the marks here. There'll be like one early mark before top dead center, and there'll be another mark just to the left of it, which will be top dead center. I'll show you that once I get to it. So I'm going to start turning this thing and be right back. Okay, I'm close. So there's the rotor and the 2 lines. You'll see one here. This is before top dead center, and then the second one here, which will be top dead center. So what I'll do is I'm going to rotate a little bit until basically this line on the fan lines up with this. So I'm going to turn it clockwise just a little bit more. And so for my belt tension, just a little pressure over here is enough to get it to turn. So I'm going to go do that. Okay, well, before I show you that, by the way, the pulley here, 24 millimeter. You should have a spanner in your kit, or just get a nice long wrench, 24 millimeter. Okay, so now it's at the correct positions, the top dead center. And I could reach in here. This is cylinder number 1, as we said. It'd be hard to film, but I could grab the top of the tappet, and I could give it a wiggle. And just by feel, I think I'm in spec on the intake valve on the cylinder 1. The exhaust valve will be below. Usually the exhaust valves will be the one that will be problematic because you have more heat down there. So I think I'll check that valve and then go down and just give it a feel, and then go from there. I only did this about maybe 4,000 miles ago, so they may be pretty good, but I did rebuild the engine, so I just did the initial valve adjustment. So I just want to do this. I don't want to put 2,000 miles on the engine with it out of spec. So yeah, I'm gonna grab my feeler gauges and start checking. Okay, so a little bit of bad news. The feeler gauge, I can't get in there. And I remembered when I did this before, some you could get the feeler gauges in easier than the others. So I'm just gonna do what I did last time. I'm gonna set all of them. There's only 12 valves, so it's not a big deal. And for the ones I can't get the feeler gauge in, which is what I did last time, I used this Rennline tool. Okay, well, I have the Rennline tool here set up so you can see how it works. So the back part is locked into the, well, it's kind of a pedestal on the rocker arm. I have it at 0 lash, and I lined up the arrow with the top line, and I'm gonna loosen it to the second line, and that'll be 1/10 of a millimeter. And then I have a 13 millimeter already here on the lock nut. So when you do the 13 millimeter, use a smaller, lighter one, so it just makes things easier. Don't get a real long one, just a short one. You don't really have to torque that down too tightly. Okay, here I go. First valve. Okay, the first one is done. So, you know, what you could do is just grab your hand here, go up and down, you know, in this area once it's tightened down. Get a feel for what 0.1 millimeter feels like. It's like a little dink, yeah, a little bit of play. You definitely don't want it loose. You don't want it tight. Tight means 0 lash. So that's at 0.1 millimeter. And when you use the tool or the feeler, they should all kind of feel the same when you go in there and just grab it. You're not going to hurt anything. Just give it a good yank up and down. Tick, 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 tick. And you feel it. All right, here I am under the car. And right here, this is the exhaust rocker. All right, I think I have excessive clearance, but I'm doing them all anyway. All right, I'm halfway done. I'm back at the, there's the BTDC mark, and here's the mark. So I did 1 full revolution. So according to our firing order, we're now on cylinder 4, right here. And I'll show you how to use the Rennline tool. Okay, hopefully you can see this okay, but so it's faster to me to just redo them than to just try and get a feeler gauge in there. So that's kind of the reason why I'm doing all this. So you just want to, you know, loosen up. This is 13 millimeter. Loosen this up. All right, then you want to get some separation between this jam nut and the screw. Just kind of loosen that a little bit, okay? Then tighten it to 0 lash right there, and this is still able to move. What you don't want to do is you want 0 lash to be on this. If this is bottoming out, you're going to get a bad reading. So you want to make sure the jam nut is backed out, and then you get 0 lash, okay? So right there, that's 0 lash. You could always confirm it by going like that, no play. That's what that means. Okay, then you get your tool right here. Move this little guy over to a side where you could see it. Like that. This piece right here fits on the rocker. I'm sorry, backwards. So you loosen this piece here. Let this one slide down. Turn it until it engages. Okay, so it's engaged. Just screw. Then you lower it down and tighten that thumb nut. Alright, so this isn't going to look too good, but the little gold arrow is pointing to the first line at 0 lash. So basically what I do is I'm going to move it out to the second line, and then I'll throw my 13 millimeter in here, right down here, and I'll tighten it up. Alright, finally done. Just did 5, top and bottom. So yeah, I used the tool from Rennline to do all of them. Just easier to do them with the tool consistently the same way than to mess with the feeler gauge and do two different ways like I did last time. So yeah, Rennline all the way, and just get a good feel for that 0.1 of a millimeter. It's just like a hair, basically. So if it wiggles more than a hair, then it's gone too much. So I'm gonna put these valve covers back on. I'm gonna wipe them down. I already wiped this down with the clean rag, so the mating surfaces. So pretty much the assembly is the opposite of the disassembly. I'll go over the torque values once I get my hardware assembled and get these gaskets cleaned off. Be right back. All right, little update. All right, so I have that valve cover on. And you know, I figure it'd be a good time to put the spark plugs in before the valve covers go on. So I'm doing that. But what I did also while I was in here, I grabbed my bore scope and I just went down the holes to take a look at the cylinders, make sure everything is okay, and so far so good. So I'm down here with my new hardware and I'm cinching them up just hand tight on the valve covers. Just remember, these crush washers are not reusable. Make sure you have thrown out all of your old hardware. Do not reuse these. You will leak like a sieve. Alright, time to tighten these guys up. So I'm going to use my socket, my 13 millimeter ratcheting wrench for the one in the corner. Alright, just to recap, I finished this last night, but I was too tired to film. It basically took all day, not working real hard. I went in the pool and made a trip to West Marine, but anyway, it is time consuming putting all these fasteners on. You basically don't want to zip them on too hard because you don't want to crush the aluminum washer with like a power tool. It's only 8 foot-pounds, so you kind of have to. I zipped them on with a small ratchet and then finished them off with my torque wrench. So then I also owe you a look at the valve underneath here. So there it is. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And so I closed that off. I put a new washer on my drain bolt, which is on the other side of the case. This is a Carrera case, so it doesn't have the sump. Tighten this guy up here, and then came up. Ooh. Just little things. I noticed my backdate hose was a little long. I shortened this by a couple centimeters, and then the bottom grommet for the heater. The stock hose clamp would cause this to pull off, so I went to West Marine, got another one of those cool German style stainless steel hose clamps, and clamped that down. Yeah, and buttoned everything back up. So yeah, I put the spark plugs, those were in yesterday, I showed you that. Pre-gapped, NGKs were at the correct gap. And put the spark plug wires on, both sides. Alright, so today I'm going to start my oil fill and put the filter in. So I'm going to do, I do 9.5 quarts for the initial fill up, because basically what you don't want to do is, you know, if you overfill your oil, you know, all these breathers go right into your intake. So you got to let that oil distribute and heat up and all that before you top it off. That's why when you see the videos on oil changes, you just don't put the 11 quarts in. It'll fill this thing up and then fill this thing up with oil residue. So that's a big reason not to do that. You'll see a lot of people, they panic. Oh my, I have no oil, when they see the oil level gauge, and then they fill it up, and then the oil expands, and then it goes into places it really shouldn't go. It's a part of the emissions control. So I'm going to start that and get back to it. All right, today I'm filling up with Mobil 1 V-Twin 20W50. If you need to get something locally, I know people have their preference in oil. I don't, as long as it has high zinc. This stuff is, you could get at Walmart. Sometimes it's on sale for like nine and change. Believe it or not, air-cooled V-twins like a Harley-Davidson have a lot in common with these Porsche air-cooled engines. Flat tappet. You need the zinc content 1200 so that the parts can slide, like where the cam and the rocker arm meet. That's why you want the high zinc. A lot of the oils now, the EPA required for catalytic converter use to reduce the zinc to like 800 parts per million. I guess it's ppm, yeah. Anyway, that doesn't cut it for these engines. So I know people use Penn and VR1 Valvoline, which is all great oils. So this one, something that you may consider a great additive packet, and locally available if you need it at the drop of a hat. Alright, I'm all filled up. 9.5 quarts. I'm not going to check the level. I know what's in there. If you haven't replaced this O-ring on your cap, consider doing that. That's a good one to do. This is, you know, these get dried out. They can't last 30 years. So if you haven't done it, make sure you do it. So I'm going to pop that back on. And then for the ride, I'm going to warm it up. I'm not going to do it today. It's a rainy day today, but I'm going to take the Mobil 1 quart, and my trusty official Carrera 3.2 funnel, and I'm going to put them right here. There you go. We'll see you later. So essentially what you want to do is get it to operating temperature. And how do I know that? Well, again, it says it right there. Yeah, I drive it. As long as you don't go nuts with it, I think there's plenty of oil to run it at 9.5 quarts. So see, it's high. Geez, well, I'll show you this. Yeah, it's high right now. It's right up to right here. So it would be at the high level now. This will go down as you start, when you start the car. And then it'll go down on the level, and then it'll come back up as the oil heats up. So yeah, the thermostat's open. It'll go up to the front oil cooler and all that. And then it'll expand. So you'll see your oil level at like nearly 0. And then at the normal operating temperature, you know, like when you drive your car and it comes up, you know, you're looking for the engine to get to its normal operating temperature. It'll probably be still low. It won't come up on the gauge. And then use that to get it to the right level. Okay, well, that should wrap this up for now.